Welcome back. Today, I am sitting down with someone who has helped reshape how agents grow, market, and scale their business through YouTube, social media, systems, and community. From engineering to eXp leadership, Mike Sherrard has built one of the most impactful trainings and organizations in the industry. And I am so honored to have him here today. We are diving into how he did it. All right, so my guest today is Mike Sherrard, an international real estate leader, content strategist, and coach who's trained thousands of agents around the world. He's the founder of the Social Agent Academy and one of the leading voices behind the Wolfpack community at eXp. Mike's mission is to help agents build systems leveraging AI and scale through collaboration. And what he's built with this community is truly next level. I'm so excited to have you here today, Mike. So thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, I'm really excited to be here too. It's an exciting time in the industry, so it's going to be cool to be able to share some insight.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we'll just jump right in. Just have a few questions for you. So you've made a pivot from engineering into real estate and then into coaching. So what was that shift like, and what inspired you to lead agents instead of just sell homes?
Yeah, it's a good question. When I was an engineer, I was doing very well, but looking around the parking lot, not even the general manager had the lifestyle that I was looking for. And so if you look at climbing the corporate ladder, if you will, if the best of the best, the top rung on the ladder isn't even going to give you the lifestyle that you're looking for, then what's the point? And so, I decided to get into real estate because typical story, bought my own house, didn't go well, and I figured I could do better. Now, when it came to the coaching side, that was a lot of my journey has just been by execution in the sense of, when I was getting started in real estate, I was constantly consuming other people's content on YouTube and learning from it because, as we all know, your real estate license course doesn't teach you anything practical. It just teaches you the theory. And so as I started to do well with door knocking, with Instagram, with Facebook ads, I started thinking, well, maybe people will want to learn from me and what's actually working, because everybody was talking about the traditional side. Nobody was talking about leveraging social media really well back in 2017. And so I figured, let's just share it out there. And after I started to share some of the strategies that were working for me in production, because I became a top producer my first year, I started having a lot of people reaching out saying, hey, I really like the social media stuff, and my comments and my engagement on the social media focused videos were far superior to anything else. And so I just continued to do it myself. And I think that's the most important concept, is unfortunately in this industry, a lot of people will just buy a course from somebody and then regurgitate it on YouTube, and they've never actually done it or seen results themselves. And so for me, it was all based on what was working for me in my production business at that time. And then it got to the point after being able to transition over to this brokerage where it gave a vehicle to pretty much leverage that on an exponential scale. And when I saw the demand for that and how many people actually wanted it, I, decided to go all in on it.
Yeah, and you've done so well with it. And I'm so grateful to be part of that training and coaching because it's helped me a lot as well. And so you've trained thousands of agents in YouTube and social media, content, and AI. What do you think the core principle is that you teach before diving into strategies or tools like these?
Yeah, the number one reason why agents fail is mindset. And when you start looking at this, everyone's looking for the overnight success, which we know doesn't exist. Everyone's looking at the shiny penny, the shortcut, which doesn't exist. And so mindset is truly the number one reason. And it sounds so cliche, but that's why most people avoid it. They just want to go straight to the strategy. But if you won't execute on the strategy, it's never going to work out. It doesn't matter how easy it is. You're going to quit. You're going to give up. And so if you look at the consistency or the commonality across all the people that have been successful, they're hyper disciplined. Okay, well, whenever they say they're going to do something, they actually do it. They are extremely consistent. So once they start something, they never stop. They embrace delayed gratification, because most people fail to realize that expectations almost always guarantee disappointment, because what people will do is comparison, right? So they're comparing their chapter 1 to somebody else's chapter 20. They're going to look and say, well, this guy or this girl was able to generate leads in 3 months. okay, I need to be able to generate leads in 3 months. But we have some people in our group that were consistent for 13 months, over a year, didn't get any results because they stayed true to their mission and trusted the process. They're now closing multiple deals every single month because they didn't give up. And even, most people will look at a journey like Suman's. Well, if you look at Suman's analytics, most people don't realize that even despite closing 87 deals in his first year, he didn't get almost any traction for the first 6 months. And they all think it was like 87 deals evenly spaced out over 12 months. And that's not the case at all. And so people really need to go in with the expectation of measuring the intangible versus just the tangible. So what a lot of people do is they'll set tangible goals. I need to get X leads or close X deals in X amount of time, which is good to have. But especially when it comes to organic content, you can't always control that because it's organic. They're reaching out to you. With prospecting, it's different. And so what I always tell people is to focus a little bit more on number one, what you can control, which is the execution of the activities that will lead to the results. And number two is the intangible. Like you might be able to go 12 months without getting any results, but if you become a better communicator, you're more disciplined, you're consistent, and you develop the habits that will lead you to be successful, then I think the intangible progress is equally as valuable as, the tangible progress. And so I want people to have that right perspective when going into this, because in my opinion, this seems to be one of the only industries where people get in, they automatically assume that success equals six figures in your first year. And if you don't do that, you're a failure and you're going to give up and then you quit, like 87% of the industry. If you look at any other business, they're like, okay, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. I'm going to get started, build the foundation, and then I'll be able to scale year over year. And then eventually I'm going to be able to make the money I want. But this is such a vanity focused, clout chasing industry that everybody's comparing themselves to the people on YouTube that are sharing how they did X, Y, and Z, when that's not the average situation. And that's why I encourage people, like I know some agents that did absolutely nothing in the first year and now they're closing 50 deals a year, right? But I think that comparison really, throws people for a loop.
Absolutely. And I love that you touched on like the discipline aspect of it, because I think in this business, we hear a lot about oh, you got to stay motivated and you got to stay positive. But really, it comes down to like discipline, because you can get up and not feel very motivated. But if you have the discipline to just do something that day, it's better than nothing. So I love that that you touch on that, because I do think I was an agent that got in thinking, oh, I'm just going to get in and sell houses and it's going to be great. I didn't have like an expectation financially. I just thought, I didn't realize that like what all came with it, because they really don't teach you that in school, like you said. It's nice to see that we do have agents who follow the systems, and as long as they stay disciplined, like it definitely works out. And like you said, trust the system. So with the Wolfpack, full of top producing agents that are eager to help and teach others, which is what I love about our community. How did you design that community culture, and what do you think makes it such a success today?
Yeah, that's one of the most difficult things. And this is why, unfortunately, I'm not just even going to pick on eXp. I'm going to say all cloud-based brokerages, why many struggle with this. And so when it comes to building culture, when it comes to building community, when it comes to being able to embrace this concept of leaders create leaders, here's what most people fail to understand, is that you as a leader need to become attractive. And what attractive means is you need to become somebody that others aspire to be like. They look up to you, you're a role model, and your vision is so big that they believe that their hopes, goals, and dreams are going to be able to fit within you hitting yours. And so where a lot of people go wrong is they tell their agents to do something that they don't do themselves. Because again, usually they've paid for coaching, bought a program, and they're like, hey, this works right now. You guys should all go do this. But the thing with me that I think is a little bit different than most, not all, but most, is that I don't teach anything that I don't do myself. And anything that I do teach, I do at the highest level. And so if you look at, for example, I talk, a lot of our agents have been able to achieve massive success with YouTube. Well, I've been more consistent than 100% of our agents on YouTube, right? I've put out more content than everybody. I've invested more money into it. And so for me, I have to be able to lead by example so that other people can see what's possible. And then by the nature of this model, I'm able to give all my lessons, learnings, and knowledge to them for free to be able to help shorten that learning curve. But I think one of the most important things when it comes to culture is, number one, actually walking the walk, like leading by example and doing the work so that people see what's actually possible. And many people don't do that, right? They start to make some pretty good money. They check out, they're playing golf all day, and then their agents are in the trenches struggling. And that creates distance. Whereas people see in our group that I'm in here all day, every day on the journey with them. Another thing that we've done very well is the frequency of intimacy and access. And so when you look at the fact that we're in touch with each other on pretty much daily mastermind calls, that allows you to build real relationships with people across borders, across state, country, international lines, instead of just having maybe one weekly meeting or maybe once in a blue moon they decide to get together. And that's another big thing. And then I think the third big thing has been creating experiences, making sure that we pour into people and create these unforgettable experiences, because when it comes to business, it's very easy to leave a service. It's very difficult to leave a friend. And so when we've created these unforgettable memories together, maybe experiences that they never otherwise would have been able to afford because we've covered it, that allows them to be like, hey, we not only do we create these memories, but I feel like I got to know them. I know their family. I know their story. I get to know their true personality, not just behind the screen. And so those are some of the elements that really go into creating, that irresistible culture that people crave, because I've given away everything for free to our group. And that is a potential opportunity cost of millions of dollars that I could have made for myself. But I, by leading by example, gave it all away for free and said, hey, if you partner with us, everything I've created, you get for free. Now, because I've done that, other people in our group do that because I've walked the walk. And I think leading by example is without question the most fundamental aspect of building culture.
I agree. I totally agree. I'm grateful to be here for that reason alone. I remember 2 years ago, it was my second eXp con that we were going to, the last one that was in Vegas. And I remember I don't know if it was before or after, but talking about how when it's our group together, you'll always sit in the back with us. You don't go to the front and to the VIP section because we're a pack and we run together. And that really resonated with me. I've never seen somebody on that level, want to even do something like that. So that's what I love about our community. And I feel like everybody in there is like that. And it is because of such great examples. So I'm grateful for that, for sure. But it's one of the best experiences I've ever had with this group. And we just do amazing work. And I love that we're able to reach out to anybody and be able to share ideas, and it's all just in support of wanting each other to win.
I agree. Yeah, I think that whole concept, again, it's all about being able to bridge that gap and help people understand you're just like them. Because I think, I get these calls all the time where people think because my income might be here and theirs might be there, that I'm like a different person. And, people seem to forget, I'm a small town guy, very simple guy. And I started just like them. I just executed differently. And that's where, as you alluded to, at any of these events, I buy the general ticket, I sit in the back, I sit with our people, because when you start looking at some of the other agents, yes, I understand why, their rebuttal to this is they earned that position. And so, they're going to go sit in the front and okay, but yeah, your agents are struggling. And for me, I would rather, spend time with my agents than the other people, because when you're at the front, when you're in the VIP section or whatever, you're just spending a bunch of time with all the other people that are already doing well. And it's what do you get from that other than, kind of the clout to be able to say, hey, I'm a VIP. It's for me, I would rather look at what's going to help us build together, stay together, and be able to, again, run as a community.
Yeah. And I think that's so great. Now, my next question is about branding. So you've built a brand around systems and scaling. What routines or frameworks do you personally use to stay consistent and keep growing as a leader?
Yeah, well, on the growing side, you always have to be investing in yourself. As you know, everybody's heard the quote, if you're not growing, you're dying. And there's a lot of validity to that, where especially as a leader, right? If you're at a club-based brokerage, the size of your group is going to be the size of your leadership. And so if you're not growing as a leader, you're going to hit a capacity because you've emptied the tank on what you know and what you could share. And so the goal is always, how can I be able to learn more, share more, that's going to be able to impact people that maybe can't afford this training and coaching and hundreds of thousands to get in these rooms. And when you can share that for free, that really is transformative to a lot of agents' lives. And so for me, routine is really important, and it always has been, but I think it comes down to priority management. Like, everybody says time management, but you can't manage time. Everybody has the same amount of 24 hours in a day, right? Like, so I think that's a little bit of a facade, but what you can manage is your priorities. And that's where it comes down to the fact that everybody will make time for their priorities. So if you quote unquote, don't have time for something, that's false. You just aren't willing to make it a priority. And sometimes that's okay, sometimes that's not, right? If you're broke and struggling, you should be making the right things your priority, which are income producing activities. And for me, I think it's important in the beginning to find what works for you. And YouTube or social media might not be the thing for everybody, and that's okay, but you have to find something. And that's where a lot of people struggle, is they aren't willing to do the difficult work to do one thing well, and so they're always chasing the next thing and going through that valley of despair. And that's where, once they started to see the tangible results, like what gets measured gets managed, and the measurements were showing that YouTube was helping build my business more than anything else, I made that my number one priority. And then based on that, I just managed my calendar properly and said, okay, every week I'm blocking off one day. For me, it's Saturday, and that's going to be my recording time. And because I stay so far ahead, I'm always at least 1 month ahead with my content, I've been consistent for 8 years without missing a week, even if I've traveled the world or been sick or been through all kinds of stuff. And that, again, just comes down to diligence of realizing, like, what are you doing this for? And I think that's where, being able to put it into your calendar is one thing. Being able to execute on it when you don't feel like it is a radically different thing. And that's why I think it's always important, again, that cliche thing of like, find your why. It's more like find your purpose and find your mission. If you don't have a reason, a driving force as to why you're doing this that's bigger than just you, there's going to be a lot of days you don't feel like doing it, and you just don't end up doing it. And that's where it's really important to, again, get clarity on who this is for, and be able to remind yourself of that on the days that you don't feel like doing it, because there's a lot of fair weather agents out there that will do something when they're excited about it, which is like right after an event, right after a seminar, and then after a week that dies off, and they continue to rinse and repeat that cycle.
Yeah, I see that a lot. And so to kind of touch on that, like, a lot of agents will feel overwhelmed, especially when it does come to like social media and tech, especially in these days, because it's always changing. And so where should, if somebody's looking to start to get into either YouTube or short form AI, any of those kind of systems, where should they start to get traction without feeling lost? Or how does that happen?
Yeah, I always find going with the lowest barrier to entry, the least resistance path, is going to be the one that's going to at least allow you to develop and build confidence. So for me, I've always found that happens to be Instagram. It's the most populated platform. It's the least kind of complex platform. It cross promotes to Facebook. And so I know a lot of people want to go to YouTube, but that takes a different level of skill. You have to be able to deliver a message for maybe, 8, 10, 12, 15 minutes. It's much easier to be able to develop the confidence on camera for a video that's 45 seconds, 30 seconds, 60 seconds. And that's why I always recommend people, like, Instagram is going to be usually people's first stop when searching for an agent's name. If it's not Google, they're going to look you up there. Okay, well, we might as well just start with the foundation. And then as you get the repetitions, and start to develop the skill set to communicate better, to get more confident when it comes to your delivery, then we can start to expand and explore from there. But that's always my advice, is start simple, because everything's going to be difficult in the beginning. We might as well start with the foundation that's actually going to give you the biggest long-term results with the least amount of effort and frustration.
Yeah, I think that is really key. That's where I kind of got lost, because I tried to dive into YouTube first and it was a lot. And then I kind of switched gears, but now I do all of it. And so do you think that there are ways to implement AI? We have a lot of AI training, so ways to implement AI into helping streamline where an agent might want to get started.
Yeah, definitely. Like, we've got, I think both of us, lots of videos on our YouTube channel of exactly how to do this. But, for me, I personally found that, again, knowing that AI is a completely new door to open for most people, it again has a learning curve. And the thing that worked for me was removing Google Chrome as the default browser on my phone and making it ChatGPT. And so that forced me to start to get the habit of, anytime I had a question, I wouldn't go to Google, I would go to ChatGPT. Okay, very interesting. Now you start to get familiar and you start to develop this understanding for the platform to the point where it becomes familiar, it becomes second nature. And once you do that, that gives you the confidence to go to it more and explore more and expand the ways that you're implementing it and leveraging it. And for me, I think, you start to look at the easiest approach to this is just going to be finding video topics and being able to identify scripts and all these things. But I think more important than that is people being able to learn how to prompt. Because when we look at this, like, we know that communication is the number one skill set you need in real estate, in entrepreneurship and business in general. And when you look at the people that win listing presentations or buyers consultations, they're the best communicators. Well, the people that are doing the best on YouTube are the best verbal communicators. Now, all that leveraging AI is nonverbal communication, which is written. And that's where people need to start to get better at communicating exactly what they're looking for. And I think this is where a lot of agents struggle, is they're thinking about this from like, what's one line that I can just ask something generically like I would on Google. But when you look at proper prompting, you need to be able to prompt from an outcome perspective, not a task perspective. And that's radically different when you're able to clearly communicate the exact outcome you're looking for versus a quick task that you're trying to get done. And that shift in perspective and approach makes a radical difference, because the more clarity that you provide, the better the responses are going to be that you get out. So it kind of goes back to that concept. If you ask better questions, you'll get better results. It's very similar to this. Like, if you write more clearly with more detail of exactly what you're looking for, you're going to get better results. And so, any of these AI platforms work, ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity, Claude, whatever. I always encourage people to, number one, start to become familiar with it so that it seems less abstract. And number two, start to get better at communicating in written format or verbal, if you use audio notes, of exactly what you're looking for, the outcome, right? And just to give context to people, if they don't really get what that means, is if we use the example of like YouTube, you can write, I'm a real estate agent in Austin and I need video topics for my YouTube channel, is how the majority of agents are going to approach this, right? Or you could say, like, act as a YouTube strategist for real estate agents. I'm a residential real estate agent in Austin, Texas. My goal is to generate high quality leads of relocation buyers. I need 8 video topics for this month. And the goal is to not only be able to make them widely searched based on data on Google, but also to be able to be indexed on Google. Okay, radically different outcome, right? And that just comes from the clarity of exactly what you're looking for, not the surface level.
Absolutely. I think for me, using that kind of teaching and coaching that we have, I feel like I've gotten better with that too. And I try to think of it like I'm talking to somebody that I'm hiring for whatever that task, like, a YouTube strategist. Why would that's how you would talk to somebody you were hiring. So why would you talk to your AI in the same way? And so I think that's great. Now, touching on AI, what do you think the future of the real estate industry looks like with AI, including collaboration and platforms, even like eXp leading the way?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Even just even this yesterday, there was a big announcement how Zillow is the first real estate app on ChatGPT. And I think a lot of people aren't really understanding that like this is the future. So now you've got Zillow natively integrated with ChatGPT. So when people are asking for top agents, Zillow, per usual, is going to have their hands in that pot. Then you have platforms like Gemini that have and are in the process of introducing agent mode. And that allows people to say, I'm looking for this type of apartment in this city with this bedrooms with these features, and it's going to be able to guide you, connect you with the listing agent immediately and cut out the buyer's agent. And so for me, AI is rapidly evolving at a pace that we can't even comprehend, and we will never stay on top of it or get ahead. Like that just does not exist. We will forever be catching up, if you will. But there are certain things that you can do to position yourself. And that's why I always encourage agents to be able to build a strong personal brand and have an online presence, because when you look at Google AI overviews, which is the single answer that Google spits out whenever you search for something, or if you look at AI, most of these platforms, YouTube is one of the number one platforms that they index from because of the format of it, the natural language, the step-by-step formatting, the list sequencing. It's more conducive to being the right solution to the questions people are having. And so that's where I really encourage people, like, now is the time to get outside of your comfort zone, and it is the time to be able to develop the brand, because either you're going to be visible by taking massive, uncomfortable, imperfect action, or you're going to fade into the abyss and you're going to struggle probably forever, right? And so the goal in the future is not to predict like what's going to happen with AI, because we have no clue. But what we can control and what we can do right now is we can build a brand and build very intimate relationships to the point where instead of people wanting and defaulting to go into an AI platform to get the answers associated with anything real estate related, they just send you a text, they give you a call, they send you an email because they're like, hey, Meg knows the answers. Like, I'm just going to message her, right? Like, oftentimes when it comes to multiple different things, like, comes to cars, for example, like if I have a question about one of my vehicles, I text my guy at the Lamborghini dealership. I don't go on Google. I don't go on YouTube. I'm like, I don't have time for that. He knows the answer, goes straight to the source. And the only way that you're going to do that is if you become and remain top of mind and you share so much value that people inherently believe that you know the answer to all of their questions.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I mentioned to not just agents, but a lot of people who kind of have this pushback on AI. It's like you either evolve or you go extinct. I mean, there's no other way to put it, because I think it was like the same way when the internet came out, everybody was up in arms about it. And now we're back at it with AI, and it's going to make or break people's businesses for sure. So my last question for you is, looking ahead, what are you looking to do next? And how do you see the Wolfpack continuing to evolve and shape the next generation of agents at eXp?
Yeah, it's a good question. For me, I've always got things in the works. I always have training and resources that are coming down the pipeline that people don't know about. And, so for me, it's always building this ecosystem where when people partner with us, everything that they need to achieve their goals and bridge that gap from where they are today, their current state, to where they want to be, their future desired state, we have it for free. And that's where I'm always studying the market. I'm always studying the questions on our mastermind calls. I'm always looking at what are the pain points, where is the industry evolving, and how can I stay on top of that to be able to create resources to give to our agents for free that are going to help them capitalize on this new era of real estate. So a couple things for me in terms of the future. Number one, my goal has always been to help 1,000 agents make $1 million. And so every year we end up having another couple people that end up breaking that 7-figure level. And so that's something that, again, gives me a lot of pride, knowing that we're able to transform so many lives. So that's number one. Number two is the constant innovation, always staying ahead of what any other group at any other brokerage is doing. And that just comes from being in the weeds and being in the trenches all day and executing and testing and being able to lead by example myself. And I think that's the final part, is just continuing to lead by example and see how can I share everything that I've learned with everybody so that they don't have to make the same, costly time-sucking mistakes that I did, so that they can go to a path of success, in a fraction of the time for free. And so when we start looking at the future of this, we're in a really great spot, right? We've done something that nobody else really has. And I think that's a testament to everybody really enjoying being a part of this community and wanting to thrive, because this feels like home. And so for me, it's, a lot of what I've got coming in the pipeline as well is going to be that a lot more of the in-person access, in the sense of, now that pretty much the only brokerages that are growing are cloud-based. And then you blend that with artificial intelligence. What does cloud-based and AI do? It creates mass disconnect. And so people are going to be more lonely than ever. They're going to be more disconnected than ever. And as you go super far one way, in terms of, like, for example, technology, the ones who win embrace the opposite direction. And so that's why, for me, it's going to be a lot more in-person events, private community experiences, and being able to do things that have us, belly to belly far more frequently, to be able to create memories together, mastermind together, and continue to, again, foster these incredible relationships that we've already built.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I'm excited for us.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for breaking down what it truly takes to build a business, not just through the systems, but through leadership and community. What you've created with the Wolfpack continues to inspire agents to collaborate instead of compete. And again, that's why I just love where I'm at. For those of you watching, if you got value from this conversation, drop your favorite takeaway in the comments, hit the like button, and subscribe for more success stories and strategies. And if you're ready to start building your own business with support, mentorship, and collaboration that makes the Wolfpack so powerful, click the link in the description to book a private call with us. Let's take your business and your leadership to the next level. And for those of you who want to follow along with Mike, his profile information will be linked in the description. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
Love it. Thank you.